So ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, for those of you who are about to watch this video, do not worry. This is a no spoiler video. I know it says already in the title, but just to reassure you, if you're very hyped but kind of want to, was this movie kind of, was the Justice League Snyder Cut still kind of, but no spoilers though, no spoilers. This is that video for you. No spoilers. So let's get into this. So what is up, people of the Snyderverse? I am absolutely pumped to be making this review for you today. So this is my non-spoiler, no spoilers review for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, I was very lucky, given the privilege by Warner Brothers to see an early screening of Snyder Cut, and here I am, finally talking about it. It kind of feels bizarre to be speaking about it before everyone's got a chance to see it, but honestly, I was just thinking, how do I review a 4-hour movie with no spoilers? Well, here is my attempt to give you the best impression you can possibly get, and hopefully this kind of serves as a complimentary spice up into your journey for viewing it on release day. But let's not waste any more time. Let's actually get into the review. So let's just say, if you wanted this to be a different movie, well, after we could post social media sentiments yesterday to give a preview of our thoughts, let's just say I said that it's baffling to me how different this movie feels to that of the theatrical cut. Now, that may be an obvious one to some of you, but when I say that, I want to stress that a lot. And I use this word sparingly because I feel like it's been rinsed at this point in time, but Zack Snyder's Justice League simply feels epic. There's so much more to this version of the movie in many avenues compared to that of the theatrical cut, to the point of where I want to say, long story short, existing Snyder fans are in for a treat and should love what they're getting here. Like, typical fans, I think, will still really enjoy this movie, but if you're like a Snyder follower, you're hyped for this, and you've been given a taste through the trailers and been looking forward to something that is different to that of what the Whedon cut gave you a few years ago, then this is the personification of that. But what was this movie subjective to me? Like, did it exceed my expectations? What was it like? I would say that the Snyder Cut did exceed my expectations, but just to give you more context of that, my expectations weren't out of this world. I actually try and temper my expectations when it comes to anything. I don't want to say to you that they were set low either, because they definitely weren't. This is the Snyder Cut after all. But I tempered them in such a way in hopes that when I went in, that it would hopefully pleasantly surprise me, and I'm glad that it did. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this review, this is a 4-hour movie. So let me start with pacing. And let me say it again, 4 hours, guys. 4 hours. It can feel like it, but also not at the same time. I mean, for sure, for some it may feel long, but for others, like myself, the pacing allowed for everything, such as some Justice League members' backstories and other important plot ingredients to flesh out very organically due to how much time they had to explore everything. And I really mean that. For some, it may feel like a long movie, but for me, a fan, but not a fan who's been blowing us out of proportion, fair enough if you have, but for me, I just haven't, I was still very engaged with everything new that we had been offered, to the point of these 4 hours time flew by. Now, if you're just interested, I'll put this out there for how I viewed it. I watched the first hour, I would say, on the evening that I got it, and then I watched the following 3 hours the next day. But the reason why I mention that is because I just want to tell you that I could have easily watched all 4 hours in one sitting. The bottom line here is that it feels like a fluid, solid 4-hour film that doesn't feel like too much of a slow burner. Everything is paced and organically and fluently weaved to the point of where it doesn't struggle to maintain interest at any part, and everything that is important feels fleshed out in the right way to the premise of what this movie is: uniting the League, fighting Steppenwolf, preparing for Darkseid. And it just feels like everything is stacked up neatly the way it should be. As an attempt to understand why that was even a thing, it's just so confusing, because some of those moments are so epic. It's just like, I don't understand what happened with the first one. For example, as I said, no spoilers, don't worry, but this is a much referred to one, the history lesson. And what do I mean by that? The almost Fellowship of the Ring-like battle scene of Euxus in the past with the United Peoples of Earth is so expanded upon that I feel like people are going to be jiggling about in their seats. And this is truly echoed throughout many moments in the movie, especially with never seen before Darkseid moments. Now, in general, in the Snyder Cut, characters are portrayed very well, with more than enough screen time to make each character's time on screen feel very relevant to the plot. And that's very important, because we've got a lot of characters, but yet again, I stress, we've also got 4 hours. It felt refreshing to see Bruce Wayne meet Arthur Curry, the Aquaman, without having to deal with the reshoots. Like, this is a thing you'll be feeling all the way throughout it. If you're kind of well versed with moments that Whedon reshot and stuff like that, you'll be noticing those parts that are now the original Snyder scenes, and it's just very transparent in a good way. And the same can be said for every character. Diana's moments and first action scene are drastically different to what we saw in the theatrical cut, and who would have guessed? It's all the better for it. Also, characters should still be noted to be very much so, and this is something people know anyway, but just to iterate it again, very much so Snyder's iterations still. Perfect example being Diana / Wonder Woman. There are things in this movie that happen where you will say, yeah, Patty definitely wouldn't have done Wonder Woman like that, and that's more prominent than ever with Wonder Woman 1984 versus the more warrior Wonder Woman we get in the Snyder Cut. But honestly, I low-key prefer this version. I like what Patty's done, but like, this is awesome with what we see from Wonder Woman in this movie. And I know this is something Snyder has talked about anyway, with the different versions of his characters that got continued on after the Snyderverse. He's just going to stick to his own, and it's very much so his own. And not gonna lie, I kind of prefer it. Whereas there's other characters for the first time, for example, Cyborg, who very much so get, for the first time, their crowning moment, which was arguably robbed from them with the theatrical cut. This time, Cyborg feels a part of the lifeblood that makes up the Snyder Cut. And I'll go as far to say that he's a pulse that keeps this movie's heart beating, and that doesn't feel forced in any way. It just actually feels like he's been included this time, and in the way that, well, of course, this is what it's all about. Snyder always intended, and whereas Whedon just completely viciously ripped out. And his connection to the movie and story that unfolds just carries a lot of weight, but also comes full circle with just this fulfilling promise of the character's future, of which definitely makes you want to see more of Ray Fisher's Cyborg. And maybe some of you who follow Ray Fisher on social media, a few days ago he posted, I believe, his reaction to the Snyder Cut. I think he hadn't seen anything of it before, and you can really for sure see why Ray Fisher was so ecstatic coming out of the Snyder Cut screening. I just felt so happy for him, and when reflecting upon that after seeing it myself, you can really get a taste of what he's feeling in those moments he's recording that video after finally getting justice to his character. It's just really clear to see why Zack Snyder labeled him as more or less the heart of the Snyder Cut. Now, as for the Flash, despite him still being quirky Alan to me over Barry Allen, and his demeanor that just doesn't really change here in the Snyder Cut, and I never really understood why some fans thought that it would, as this is just Ezra's general approach to the character and the character's demeanor. However, I still really enjoy him as a speedster. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Ezra, I just don't necessarily view him as Barry Allen, or the right casting of what I would envision for Barry Allen. But I can still very much so enjoy the moments he got in this movie, and just in general as a speedster of sorts. But yeah, again, regardless of that, the moments of Barry Allen, the speedster, the Flash in the Snyder Cut that are now included, such as those Speed Force moments that you've been teased with in all of these trailers, the Flash truly has some spectacular moments that have never been seen before, which will leave you hyped for the potential of the Flashpoint movie. And that includes me, because I'm still looking forward to seeing what Ezra Miller does next. He's quirky Allen to me. He's more Bart Allen than Barry, but also I can't speak to what he's going to be like in Flashpoint, because don't forget, these scenes are what he brought to that character all the way back then, and in Flashpoint he might not be as quirky. But then again, I know many people love Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. It's just, yeah, to me he's quirky Allen, but that doesn't take away from the entertainment he provides in this movie. Also, on top of that, I really am still just left gutted that we're not going to see Henry Allen again after this movie, just knowing that he can't reprise his role in Flashpoint, and since he's getting recasted, because he's just genuinely so good and so well cast, it's actually triggering to watch this and get those moments between Henry Allen and Barry. Yeah, it's just like, damn, he was so good. Now, what about Superman? Henry Cavill's Superman is exactly how he is supposed to be. And he's not in the movie a bunch, like a whole whopping amount, to the surprise of maybe some, because I thought maybe it'd be a teeny bit more. But my god, it should go without saying that the way it's approached in this movie compared to that of the CGI stash, look, I didn't want to bring it up, but you almost have to. I just find myself asking, why did they do that? Why did they reshoot that? There was just no need. Despite not as much as what you'd think in the 4-hour movie of Superman, there is still so much Superman goodness in this movie. Even before Superman is actually in it. The beginning of the movie is very much so kind of the fallout of the death of Superman, if you will. And if you're a tearjerker, kind of like me, at just those mere first notes of the soft piano of Superman's theme, then yeah, you're gonna get wrecked a few times. Also, if anything, seeing Superman return reinvigorated, if you will, with the black suit, seeing Henry Cavill on screen like that just makes me want to scream to the world, Henry Cavill is Superman. And seeing him in the Snyder Cut will just, how do I put it, reinforce that in your head a billion gazillion times over. And I struggle to understand how anyone really can't see Superman and Henry Cavill. And I feel like it's just, yeah, on that note, what are the repercussions of this movie? Not only in just a continuation, but also characters' continuation. It's going to be an interesting one. But then there's also some other characters who, in the Whedon cut, didn't feel like characters, but now, in this one, actually feel like a character. For example, Steppenwolf. And honestly, there is actually so much more to him, which is a thing that I feel like I'm going to be echoing about the Snyder Cut in general, but like seriously, I mean this a lot. Steppenwolf is actually more than a video game boss. As Zack Snyder teased, and without getting into spoilers, there's some history between him and Darkseid, and watching Steppenwolf do what he does for Darkseid in this movie, compared to that of the theatrical cut, just adds a whole new meaning and adds a whole layer of depth to Steppenwolf's character in this iteration compared to that of the Whedon cut. That just made me 10 times more interested in him this time around. And seriously, I don't mean to exaggerate. Like, I was genuinely interested in him, and at times was almost like I felt kind of bad and was rooting for Steppenwolf. Now, what about Darkseid? Well, obviously, I can't say too much without spoilers. However, whereas Darkseid's presence can be viewed as virtually non-existent in the theatrical cut when being compared to that of the Snyder Cut, his scenes and moments throughout the movie that we do get now are just captivating. I don't want to give you false pretenses because he's not in it like a whole bunch, but it's kind of that thing that you may have heard already. When he's there, oh boy, he is there, and they definitely use him sparingly, but when they do use him, it adds a lot of weight and a lot of hype. It's really cool, and I can't wait for you guys to see those moments with Darkseid. When watching the Snyder Cut as well, you'll definitely notice the moments that made it R-rated. There's definitely F-bombs, there's heads hitting walls with the BVS-styled crate smack to the wall, bloodstain kind of left behind, you know, like a BVS where Batman grapple launches that and then poof, there's moments like that which leave you kind of thinking, I can see why this is like that. And I feel like it doesn't make the movie feel out of shape at all. If anything, it feels like it fits amongst the Snyder vibe to kind of anything that is tackled by him. Now, as for the visual effects and CGI, I'm not one of those CGI snobs who's like, oh my god, the CGI in that scene was like, don't get me wrong, the CGI wasn't flawless in every corner. In fact, in some specific moments, and I wish I could say this, but I can't because of spoilers, it's not completely pristine in those bits. However, snobbiness aside almost, overall, the visual effects are very impressive and lend to some incredible superhero Justice League United moments, and I really wholeheartedly mean that. And as far as my eyes can tell, just overall with those action shots, or if we're even just talking about Cyborg's armor and Steppenwolf's armor, it had a real polished look on those particular things. and watching that in the quality that some people are, like at 4K blown up on their big screen, it's going to look very satisfying to look at. And just talking about just visuals, the visuals are gorgeous. Now, obviously, Snyder is known for that, and if you're a fan of that, then be prepared for more incredible looking shots. I mean, with 4 hours of time to tell this story, Zack puts in some shots that rival the cinematography of his other works that you may deem at quite a high standard. Like, this is 4 hours, guys. That's 4 hours worth of potential for, like, eye candy. The music, guys. The music, I don't want to give a whole tangent on why music is the lifeblood of many movies. You know what it can make us feel. Without music, some scenes look stupid in a movie that would have looked otherwise amazing. The music in this movie, the score, the themes, are stellar. There are definitely new themes, I believe, that touch to certain characters which add a whole new vibe to them, yet also fit like a piece of the puzzle that should have never have been lost in the first place, if that makes sense. The way music is used and curated in these moments that lead up to pure, awesome, massive gravitational kind of scenes in this film, combined with such a theme at times where it's like, it's like a divine... This sounds like such an exaggeration, but there's this one scene towards the end when a certain character comes in, and then boom, like, the score kicks in, and it's just like, ah! That is not exaggeration, take that as you will, but, oh god, if you think I'm getting like that, I can't wait to see the reactions of some Snyder hardcore fans. Now into some of the more juicy stuff without getting juicy at the same time, because as I said, non-spoiler review, am I right? But there are great surprises in this movie. Those hoping for crazy teasers such as the long-fabled Martian Manhunter, or the lines that Martian Manhunter has even teased in the trailer and stuff that you've seen, let me just say, people, let me just tell you this, holy crap, does a moment like that, or what Zack has got prepared for you, take you off guard. I can't wait! As I said, like, I never used to really like reaction videos too much, but now I can't wait to watch some reaction channels watch those moments. Yes, it is, yes. I can't say anything, but yes. Yes. They basically take you off guard in the best kind of way, and you just kind of think to yourself, Zack, you sneaky bastard, you. One other thing I wanted to mention amongst all of this as well, of course, is that we know that Snyder wanted to give his fans a scene. A scene that, as he said himself, if this is indeed his last DCU movie, that he feels that he couldn't have gone without giving the fans, considering the pairing, and that is the Joker and Batman. Now, don't worry, I'm not going there fully. Like, trust me, this is just hopefully to hype you up even more in this non-spoiler review. So without spoilers, obviously, this is a very interesting thing for me to articulate. But what I can tease is that Leto definitely, all while keeping things similar to his previous performance, he does indeed tread new ground on his take. So take that, if as you will. Now, obviously, I can't give anything away, and I don't even want to, even if I could right now. But as I know, some people watching this will be incredibly hypersensitive to anything like that, and I can promise you, there's a different approach, one of which that impressed me. Like, seriously, I'm not the biggest Leto Joker fan, but I'm a huge Batman fan, as you guys know, big Joker fan, to the point of where I was like, oh wait, okay, paired with some previous things of old, but also, as I said, treading a new take of which Leto is doing, you're like, I feel that. I kind of do feel that. And overall, just to kind of tease you guys even more of this, it just gives you a taste of what could have been with Ben Affleck's Batman and Joker interacting. It's bittersweet, in a way, I guess you could say, because of how I would also say that, believe it or not, for all the Leto haters, like, it lands pretty damn well. And that's coming from somebody who doesn't even subscribe to all of Snyder's visions for the Bat family characters. To the point of where I feel like I would go as far as saying that it contains some Batman and Joker level frickin' the P word levels of conversation exchanged. Like, seriously, it is very playful Batman and Joker, and it's like, ooh, Snyder, you just gave us a taste of something that could have been super interesting to see a whole movie about. Now, what about the ending of the Snyder Cut for me? Well, it's maybe predictable to some of you, but I really want to stress this more than I ever could right now. It's more or less dumbfounding to me how transparent it was that they were trying to put a close to to the Snyderverse films, as in no continuity after the end of Whedon's Justice League cut, if you know what I mean. Because the way that this film, the Snyder Cut film, ends with the setup of the future, the sequel with Justice League 2, through its setup with Darkseid, to the incredibly different ending that just didn't even exist with a remote molecule of the same level with what Whedon did with his ending, you're going to be left with the feeling of, no, you're telling me that they cut that, but even if they didn't want to do everything in the Whedon cut, why didn't they keep that in at the end? You're telling me there's more story to that? I should be able to see that. As I said, guys, it's dumbfounding. And overall, guys, Snyder kind of ends this movie with such a painfully obvious setup that you want to see a continuation of this. And put aside the, hey, would you like to see a continuation based on just the hype of the Snyder Cut? Yeah, sure. I'm on about after you've seen the movie. You will want to see a continuation of this. Especially, I'm mainly speaking to fans. Like, fans who set their standard to the terms of, like, I'm a big Snyder fan, I want to see this. But even to casual fans, you're left with the ending of this movie in where you want to see a continuation, and to me it's just going to fascinate the absolute crap out of me to see the restore the Snyderverse movement after this. Just because even if you're head over heels, whether it's this iteration of characters or the Snyderverse in general, once you've finished Zack Snyder's Justice League, it almost feels like anyone would be lying if they said they wouldn't give a crap to see what comes next with the way that this cuts off. Overall, compared to the Whedon cut, is it better than that? Is that even a question? So let me level with you guys and be very real. Like, as someone who is a Snyder fan, but not as mega hype train as some other people out there, to be fully transparent here, I'm a fan of his works. I was very excited to see this. And how does it pan out to me overall? Well, it's a pretty damn awesome movie. It's not flawless in every facet that you can imagine. Let's not lie to ourselves. Why would we say that about any other movie? Oh, like, is flawed? Like, is it perfect? Like, of course it's not perfect. I don't even want to go to that angle. And I felt like I only needed to introduce this ending of a conclusion, if you will, with a sentence like that, because I guess, after all, this is the fabled Snyder Cut. But this movie is only ever what it promised to be in the first place, and that is the very line I kind of wanted to end on. A pure original cut delivered to fans with the vision of the director fully brought to fruition, and for lack of a better term, done justice, and that is exactly what the Snyder Cut goddamn does. So I hope you guys enjoyed this spoiler-free review. I tried my best to kind of give you the very best vibes about it in all transparency and honesty without giving you a single shred of spoiler. Of course, I will be posting my spoiler review when people have actually seen this movie. I don't really see the point in me posting it, even though technically I could in the next couple of days. So, if you want a full breakdown, I believe I will be doing a spoiler review, perhaps in parts. I would like to know your feedback on that. Maybe you would like to see parts 1 and 2 in one video, and then maybe parts 3 and 4, and then 4 and 6. You get my kind of drift. Or would you like to see one 4-hour breakdown? But that's going to be kind of hard for me to figure out. But anyway, I would love to know what you thought of this review. Did it hype you up a bit more? I hope you enjoy the Snyder Cut. Trust me, as a guy who's seen it, I have seen the Snyder Cut, and it's a good time, a very good time. And those who have been long awaiting this moment, especially those guys, are going to feel very satisfied. But like this video if you did enjoy, subscribe for more videos like this on this YouTube channel, and check out the top pinned comment, because that's where you can follow me on Twitter. I'm very active there. I have a Discord server where you can engage in conversation with me just like this, through text chat, voice chat, or whatever. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of the Snyderverse in the next video. Goodbye.